Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bar Buddies. I'm your host, Jenn Noga. Today we are here with Jordon, aka Belated. You can introduce yourself, give your name, date of birth, social security number, last three digits on the back of your credit card, whatever identity stealing information you'd like to give. The floor is
Yep.
yours.
Yeah, I'm Jordan. I make music under the name Belated. Um, Social Security is something that I keep very close to myself. Um, that's really all, all I'm willing to give up right now.
All right. I don't even think I have my social security number memorized. I should, though, but I don't.
I definitely do at this point, just because I feel like I had so many jobs when I was like a teenager and stuff that it really hammered it in for me.
Yeah. So my first question that I ask everybody is, what is your favorite 90s bop?
Oof. I feel like I never really think about the 90s. I think of like the 80s, I think of the early 2000s,
I'll take late 80s,
but
early 2000s.
90s, I feel like I'm just gonna look up 90s hits and see which one resonates with me the most.
That's fair.
You know what? Let's go let's go with Mbop.
Bop by Hanson. Very solid
Course,
choice.
course. Yes.
So,
Well, I had three sisters. Well, I
uh,
still have three sisters, but one of them I guess like maybe 12 years older than me, and like she was just so into like Hanson and like the Moffats, I think was another one she really liked. She was just so into like boy bands and all that. So definitely familiar with Mbop.
those were the precursors to the Jonas Brothers and One Directions of
Totally.
my generation. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 25.
25. I just turned
Yeah,
22, so I gotta.
nice.
I always have to ask because I'm always curious. So, how long have you been making music?
Um, it's like, there's been some kind of gaps. The first time I ever, I think, recorded like anything was maybe like seventh grade. And then like the first time I ever sang in front of people might have been like sixth grade. So I'd say around that time is when I started really getting interested in like being an artist. And then more aggressively kind of toward the end of high school. So it's like I graduated in 2014 from high school, and then immediately was like in a pop punk band, trying to do that whole thing, and it maybe did that for 2 years. Started belated, took a break, went to college and stuff. Got a real job. Was like, I miss music a lot, and now we're back to it. So
So,
so I guess like definitely more than half my life at this point.
so you said you went to college. What did you study?
Public relations.
That's what I was
I like,
studying.
okay, well, definitely different strokes for different folks. For me, I'm just like, this is not what I thought it would be. Like, I honestly really wanted to do advertising, at least when I was like deciding on a major. And the school I ended up going to, Virginia Tech, didn't offer that. So I was like, all right, well, PR is like the next best thing. But yeah, I just didn't like, it doesn't really align with like who I am. I kind of quickly found out.
Yeah. So I no longer go to college. I made it about 3.5 years in before I was like, you know what, I'm not vibing. And I was a
Yeah.
PR major. May my PR
Okay,
books
I'm
rest in
kind of
peace.
glad that you're not going anymore, because I was like, oh yeah, PR, and you're like, oh, I thought you said I'm studying that.
I did study, and then I also had a criminology major on top, so I was double majoring in criminology and public relations. And then the
Ah,
pandemic hit, and I was like, you know what? I don't think school's for me anymore. So,
I totally get that. I went to community college first, because I really wanted to do the band thing. I didn't want to commit to a 4 year right out of high school. So I ended up doing like 3 years at community college, like took a semester off to just work front desk at a tattoo shop. and then eventually went to a 4-year, got my degree, and now I kind of want nothing to do with my degree. So,
Most people just get
you know,
degrees. They just get degrees to say that they have degrees so they can get jobs. And then,
yeah, which I mean, that's just how it's always worked, capitalism and whatnot. So,
it's very difficult. I'm still on the job hunt. I actually have a job interview right after this, so I'm really excited.
oh,
But
sick.
but it's really hard to find people that'll hire you if you don't have a bachelor's degree. And I was like, but I can't do school anymore. Like it's going to be a waste of time and
Yeah,
money and effort.
yeah, totally. I mean, there's definitely still, I'm sure, some places where you can get in, entry level and just kind of work your way up. I mean, in the end, it's like if it's all going to be specific to whatever company you're working at, then, you're kind of going to have to start entry level anyway. So, and learn everything, from the start. So,
Yeah. So, why did you start Belated as like a project?
I started Belated when my pop punk band was like very clearly like on its way out. I was like the youngest member by like I think maybe 3 years or something. Like they were all kind of more toward the end of college when I was like kind of just starting like community college. And so, like they were getting some of the guys in my band were like engineers. And so they're like, hey, yeah, I'm not gonna like, not make 6 figures so that I can, ride around in this van playing to 12 kids in like these random towns. So I knew it was like on the way out, and I knew that I still wanted to do music. I mean, I had known from a pretty young age, honestly, that I wanted to make music, and even kind of more specifically, like alternative music, because I just grew up listening to a lot of like pop punk. And so I just knew that I wasn't done making music, and I ended up reaching out to a friend that was in another band that we would play shows with, and asked if he would join me, because I didn't want it to be like a solo project. And I don't really play a lot of like instruments. I play guitar, but like it's more of a songwriting tool for me than like something that I'm like really good at, or want to be really good at. So I asked him to join me, and we did that. We put out an EP. We did like I think kind of one like mini tour, played a few shows outside of that, and then that's when we just decided to take a break. We were living in different towns eventually, and so it was just like hard to make it work. But so yeah, we took a break, and I went to college, and now it is a solo project.
So, you mentioned like you wanted to make like alternative music. Like who are some of your influences?
Like earliest one, I'd say probably like one of my first favorite bands was MXPX, because they were like, I was raised Christian, and so like I'm not anymore, but that obviously dictated a lot of what I was allowed to listen to like growing up. And so MXPX was like a Christian pop punk band, on Tooth and Nail, which I think was a Christian label. And then I got into like Dashboard Confessional a lot. Newfound Glory was like my favorite band. I got into like Taking Back Sunday, Reliant K. So just like a lot of these, like that era kind of pop punk. Just from a really young age, I was listening to that.
Are they still like influences for your music, or do you have like newer influences?
Definitely have a lot of newer influences. I still like I talk about Dashboard Confessional, Newfound Glory. The Format is probably my favorite band like ever, but I found them kind of later. But those bands, they're kind of more like traditional bands, like they were playing at a time where pop punk could like be on the radio and stuff, and you could get like major label record deals. So I think of them as being like, they're definitely still influences, but the landscape has just changed so much that like I have to definitely draw influences both like musically and like, from a like branding or whatever standpoint, because, it is so different. But I definitely still draw a lot of, musical and lyrical and, storytelling like from those like early influences. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pause real quick. I'm gonna open up my window because it's hot as hell in here for some reason.
Go for it.
Oh. It's only 40 degrees out. That's a warm summer day. I'm gonna move this around real quick. I have this thing called POTS, right? It's postio-orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And sometimes it causes me to like fall over or like pass out, so I would like to prevent that. So I'm just going to like shift everything this way and hopefully I don't break anything in the process. But I will ask you a question and then I will mute my microphone while I move things around.
Gotcha. No worries.
Okay. So, how has your life changed since you started making music?
I mean, at this point, it hasn't changed too much, like about my life, but I just think it's cool how like, even though I took gaps, how consistent it's kind of been throughout my life, especially in the sense of any time I go through anything like, kind of traumatic or, just something that really like shakes me up. It's still like I know at the time as I'm going through it, I'm like, I'm gonna write about this. Like, so I would say like, yeah, it hasn't changed too much about my life, especially, just because I'm still very much like on my way up. But yeah, it's been something that's, been so consistent and reliable throughout my life.
Would you believe me if I say this is the first time this has literally ever happened? And I'm like,
What?
I've had to do this mid-interview.
Oh,
This is the first
no
time it's
worries.
ever happened, and I'm like, and I've done, I don't know, 20 of these. So,
Damn.
yeah, I know. So I
Well,
got those six
I'm
socks.
thrilled to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you. You're along for the journey.
Yeah.
So, I have not made a lot of new friends since I've left college. So I Googled what questions you're supposed to ask, like new people.
I like that. Yeah.
To get to know them better. So the one that I really liked the most was if you were to teach a class on anything, and I mean like it could literally be anything, what would it be and why?
That's tough. It's hard to feel like you're really an expert on anything. But I guess if I had to, gun to my head, I have to say something, as you're doing right now through the Zoom,
I mean, you can
is
think about it. You can take a moment and think about it.
I'm sure that makes for great content. Um, I mean, I feel like I would maybe have to say like early 2010s, like pop punk or like alternative music. Like I was obsessed in high school with becoming like a part of that scene. Like, alternative press, like, that's the magazine. And then you got all the little independent labels, the Hopelesses, the Fearlesses, all those. And so I was just like so just like interested in that world. I was really obsessed with a lot of the bands, and then I was interested in what bands on this label and all that. So I mean, hopefully if I can, if I like retained any of that information, I feel like I could probably still teach a class. I'm not sure who would take it. I'm not sure what purpose it would serve. But if somebody was like, do you remember this band from 2012 or whatever? They put out this, maybe they just put out one EP. I feel like I could maybe still get it. So
I think that's actually really cool. Were you an all-time low type of kid?
oh yeah, I loved All Time Low.
Okay, this
What
one.
about you? What would you teach a class on?
I haven't really thought about it, but if I had to do it gun to my head, like you're doing over the Zoom, um,
Yes.
I would probably teach a class on faking it till you make it, because I'm really, really good at faking it, and I haven't made it yet. So maybe that'll produce some results.
I would love to know what that curriculum is like.
It's how to send. It's mostly just how to send emails to make you sound more professional than you probably are. Because
I mean, that feels like all you're doing when you're applying to jobs and stuff. You're just like hyping yourself up, making things sound as good as they can, even if they're like nothing.
oh yeah, like when I
So that's a valuable class.
when I email people for bar buddies and I go, here's all my credentials, but I leave out the fact that I'm not in college anymore. And I go, and here's my official looking website, but then like if you look at my life on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, it's like a mess. And I'm very open about like my life sometimes just being a mess.
I
But
mean, we're all putting on some sort of facade with
oh
social
yeah.
media and everything, so it's all the same.
Yeah. Well, I still have anxiety speaking on the actual telephone. So I had to return a phone call last night, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. My mom's busy, so I can't ask her to hold my hand while I do this. And I was like shaking for like 2 hours after I returned the phone call, and I had to pitch bar buddies like in person, and I was like, I've never had to do that before.
Damn.
Over it. Suddenly, every truck has decided to pass by my street, but not
And none of them with the
none
package.
of them with the package.
Damn.
Damn. Okay, let me grab my questions. Okay. So, how has been making music during COVID? Like how is that? What's that like?
Yeah. Well, for me, I recorded my EP in June of 2020. So during COVID and everything, I mean, honestly, for that, like for me, it was really simple. Just like I was living in DC and I drove to Richmond, where my producer for the CP, Will Beasley, has a studio. And it was pretty much just like me and him, like most of the time in there. And, we didn't really have to take too many like precautions or change up anything too much because it was just like the two of us. And I slept there for like 10 days. And yeah, so in that sense, it was really easy. But I mean, there's definitely like other things that are limited, like, like music videos, like, it's just like kind of weird being around, like if you're around other people and you're not wearing a mask because like you have to be like, singing, that's been like difficult. And finding things to write about right now is like, just like, oh my God, like I'm not doing anything all day. I'm not having any like experiences to write about, no matter how they make me feel. Like I'm just kind of existing right now. So in that sense, it's been really hard, I think, making music, just like finding the topics or, experiences that motivate you to write.
So have you played? I know some people are going back and they're like playing gigs again. Have you played any gigs so far?
No, I like honestly, since I graduated college, which was 2019, I played one show in I think it was October of that same year of 2019. I played like this one show and it went really well, and I was like, I'm gonna get back into music. I'm gonna take it super serious. So I did that one, and then that, like, COVID started like not super long after that. It was like March. And I played a live stream show that Common Ground Collective set up, and that's really been it. Just I just put out my first single since coming back, so it's not like there's been kind of anyone like waiting for me to play a show, or I'd even have any like songs to play right now. At least I just have the one released right now. So yeah, it hasn't really been like a point that I really needed to hit so far, but definitely, like, when this EP comes out, I'm definitely going to want to start playing shows. Just hoping it all, ends sooner rather than later, and everybody's vaccinated and stuff can happen again.
So if you could describe your EP in a couple of words, what would it be? Like, how would you describe it?
I think catchy. That's really the thing that I care the most about when writing. So I hope people do find it catchy. I feel it is. So I would say catchy. I would say I guess like optimistic, even though some of it doesn't sound like it. I think the overall tone is like, you know, everything's gonna be all right, maybe. So I would say catchy. I would say semi-optimistic, and I would say I definitely have not thought about this question at all. Um, maybe kind of angsty. I'll say it's kind of angsty, and I think I want to kind of move away from being angsty, but I guess I felt like 20, 24 when I recorded, 25 now. I guess I felt like that was my last kind of angst hurrah. So hopefully, yeah, I tone that down a little bit moving forward.
No more angst. Although sometimes a good angst is required.
I know, but I gotta leave that to the youngins. I'm aging out of angst.
See, when I say that, I was like, I'm closer to being 25 and on my way out than I am being like enjoying my early 20s. Am I?
No, you're very much still early 20s.
I
I'm
know.
an old man now.
Do you fall how quickly do you fall asleep when you watch movies?
That
Because that's a true
that I'm just
test.
kind of that's like an anomaly for me. I don't do that because I have a hard time like falling asleep kind of anytime. So yeah, I'm pretty locked in on whatever's on TV.
I have my friend who is 27. He falls asleep like at the beginning of quarantine. We started watching movies like pretty regularly, and he would consistently fall asleep like a half hour to like 40 minutes in, and I would be the one that would like finish the movie. And half the time they were psychological thrillers, which I don't really like because I don't understand
Hmm.
them. And so I'd be like, he'd be like, don't Google the plot. And then as soon as I see that he's asleep, I'm like Googling the plot so I can figure out what's going on. And then I play games on my phone. So, Brian, if you're listening to this, I'm very sorry that I played games on my phone the entire time. I wonder if I can put this
I mean,
up.
that could have been something that he was always doing though, right? That's not necessarily a just
Yeah,
because he's 27 thing.
but it's really fun to make fun of him for being old, even though he's as old as the Lion King. And I said, but the Lion King is cool, so
So anything that's 27 can be cool,
yeah,
potentially.
potentially, as long as you're not him. And I say that with love. But do you have okay? So since I talked about the Lion King, do you have like a go to like Disney movie when you were younger?
Hmm, man. I feel like this is another thing where I feel like I need to see them all like in front of me. The one that like came to my head the quickest was like um Snow White, because I think I thought the some of the dwarfs were kind of funny. And then also I feel like Dumbo, because like my I don't want to throw my whole family under the bus. Oh, nice. I don't want to throw my whole family under the bus, but definitely some members of my family, probably like my sisters, would tease me about my ears being big, and they would call me Dumbo.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is awful. But I feel like I did grow kind of, a fondness for this character
So
through that.
my little brother he had really really big ears when he was little, and he kind of grew into them. I don't think we've ever made fun of him for it, because it's like a very common
Better
trait.
than my family.
Very common. Oh, I make fun of him for lots of other things. Just he can't change the fact that his ears are huge. But
Exactly.
but
None of us can.
yeah, Dumbo was his go-to. Mine right now as an adult is like my go-to like depression movie is Ratatouille. So I don't know why.
That's a great one. I was thinking super classic Disney.
I
I don't know
mean,
why.
but
That's
also
just where my head went.
I'll do Aristocats, 101 Dalmatians. Those are another two that I frequent between.
Aristocats was a great one. I remember that.
That one
Although
slaps.
very like racially insensitive,
Yeah.
if you think about it now. But at least that one scene, yeah.
Yeah. But they put a nice little unskippable graphic about how, rather than what's the phrase? Rather than shy away from it, this is why it's wrong. If you'd like to learn more, go to this website. Yada
Is that
yada.
how it is when you watch it on like Disney Plus?
Yeah, it's this big
Oh,
gray
okay.
screen, unskippable thing, and it'll be like, this ad will be over in 15 seconds, which isn't enough time for me to read the whole thing because I got ADHD.
So they did cut the scene out.
No, they didn't. It's still in.
Oh, huh. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, also because
All
it's the
right,
best
Disney.
musical number in that whole movie, and I'll die by that. That's the hill I'll die on.
I don't even remember the songs. It's been too
Everybody
long.
wants to be a cat.
Yeah,
Oh,
I need a refresher.
oh, I can't sing, but it goes, everybody wants to be a cat because the cat's the only cat who knows where it's at.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And then
That's good.
there's some other words that I don't quite remember. I remember the melody, but we have an outdoor cat named George, and sometimes we call him O'Malley based on that movie.
Who was O'Malley? Was he like a big orange cat in the movie?
Yes, he was.
Okay, nice, nice, nice.
It's all coming back to you.
I,
I can see it.
yeah, for sure.
So,
Are you drinking alk, or are you drinking tea or something?
I am drinking ginger ale in the Tears of My Enemies mug.
Nice, nice,
So
nice, nice.
I technically should not be having alk with the amount of medications that I'm on, because I have a 4 a day
I get that.
pill minder, but I like to pretend that it's alk. I got a very
Nice.
very small window, especially at the beginning of quarantine, where I was like, haha, I'm at home and I can drink alcohol, and I was like, this is boring if I'm by myself.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't drink it. It makes me feel awful almost all the time, but sometimes nice little treat.
Yeah, you gotta treat yourself.
This this is a Imperial Turkish coffee stout, so
Hmm.
I feel like, oh, it's just coffee. It isn't even beer,
There you go.
but it's very much beer.
I have celiac, so I can't have gluten, which like severely like diminishes anything that I could
Yeah.
have. But
Well, you can have like claws, you can
yes,
have ciders,
I
some
like the claw, I
hard
like the
liquor.
cider. My go-to drink is a dirty Shirley, which is just a Shirley Temple with vodka in it, and that's my
Nice.
go-to. What is your go-to drink?
Um, Definitely depends on what I'm feeling, but I love a gin and tonic. I like stouts, I think, more than any other style of beer, but I'll pretty much drink anything. I like red wine. I like whiskey. I guess I just like alcohol.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, to a point.
Well, yeah. There's nothing. There's liking alcohol, and then there's being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And you don't give me
walking that line.
Yeah, you don't give me an alcoholic vibe. So
that's the nicest thing I've heard all day.
So, is there a specific track on your EP that like means the most to you or has like a story behind it?
So I'm not sure how much like I haven't announced even the EP yet. So
well, this
I don't really know what
this can wait until after you make the announcement.
Okay, I'm not sure how soon that will be. But I'll try to give like the best answer I can.
Okay.
You know, that doesn't get too into things. So there's only one song on the EP that wasn't written like this iteration or whatever of Belated. One of the songs from my original EP I did re-record for this one, and it's like, it sounds totally different. But I mean, that one was personal to me at the time. Obviously now it's kind of weird because like the person I wrote it about, like I just haven't thought about them in like so many years. But there was a time when it was something that resonated with me. And then the rest of them are all kind of centered. I mean, at least a couple of them are about, the same situation, which was just, a long-term relationship I had that came to an end. And I, felt like I really needed to write about it to process it. But I would say the one song that is my favorite is called Better Things. And I just shot a music video for that, I guess a couple weeks ago now. And so, yeah, that's my favorite one, and that will be the next single. So hopefully the timing isn't too off between when I say this and when it is announced.
Well, when it's announced, I'll probably get an email about it, and then I'll be like, da 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 da. I'll press some buttons, and then I'll be like, it's set to go. Because
nice.
I don't want to say lazy by nature, but if I can put off editing anything until the last possible moment, I will, and I have.
Of course.
Because it's a behemoth, and
yeah,
sometimes it's just you just don't want to.
Ones that have gone on to be huge and super successful. So, everybody starts somewhere.
All right. Unless there's anything else you want to add, as they say at the end of Hot Ones, you've completed the interview, and you have this camera, this camera, this camera, and you can tell the people what you have going on or anything that you would like to plug.
I will say, into my single laptop camera, just check out Belated on Spotify, on YouTube for the music videos. I just put out some merch on belatedmusic.com. That's it. Stream Bad Thoughts.